It was raining heavily that night, the kind of rain that makes the streets glisten under dim streetlights and makes the world feel both lonely and alive. Inside a small cafe on the corner of Brookfield Avenue, a young woman sat alone by the window. Her hands trembled as she held a folded letter, her eyes scanning the words over and over. Tears welled up, but she didn't blink them away. The words were burned into her mind, "You are no longer my daughter." Her name was Emily Carter, once the cherished only child of Richard Carter, a billionaire CEO known for his ruthless business empire and equally cold personal demeanor. Emily had grown up with every privilege money could buy, private schools, luxury vacations, and a mansion that felt more like a museum than a home. But that life had shattered in an instant. A car accident months earlier had left Emily in a wheelchair, her legs permanently paralyzed. And as if fate hadn't already been cruel enough, she discovered she was pregnant, abandoned by the man she thought loved her. When she turned to her father for help, his reaction was swift and merciless. He cut her off, disowned her, and ordered her never to step foot in his home or office again. Before we go further into Emily's story, I want to remind you, if stories of resilience, kindness, and hope touch your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs inspiration, and comment your thoughts below. And don't forget to subscribe to Loyal Hearts so we can keep bringing you powerful, life-changing stories like this one. Back in the cafe, Emily felt the weight of the world pressing down on her. She had no home, no money, no family to turn to. She was surviving on the little savings she had left, barely enough to cover a small rented room in a rundown building on the edge of town. The paper in her hand, her father's final words, felt heavier than the cup of tea cooling beside her. And then the door opened, bringing with it a gust of cold, rain-soaked air. A man in green work overalls stepped inside, shaking off droplets from his shoulders. His hair was damp, his boots leaving wet prints on the floor. He looked tired, like someone who had worked long hours without complaint. He glanced around and his eyes landed on Emily. His name was Daniel Miller. A single dad, widowed 5 years earlier, raising his 8-year-old daughter Lily on his own. Daniel worked as a janitor at various buildings around the city, including this cafe. He didn't have much, but what he did have, he valued deeply, especially his daughter. Daniel noticed the letter in Emily's lap, the sorrow in her eyes, and the way she held her belly protectively. Something in that image tugged at him. It reminded him of nights when his wife was pregnant, how he would do anything to make her feel safe. He hesitated for a moment, then walked over. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. Emily quickly wiped her eyes and forced a faint smile. "I'm fine. Just tired." Daniel didn't believe it, but he didn't push. Instead, he cleaned the nearby tables, quietly keeping an eye on her. When he finished, he brought her a fresh cup of tea, on the house. "It's cold outside," he said softly. "Tea helps." That small act of kindness broke something inside Emily. She thanked him and, without meaning to, began telling him her story. She spoke about the accident, the paralysis, the pregnancy, and finally, the letter from her father. Daniel listened without interrupting, his brow furrowed in sympathy. When she finished, there was silence between them, filled only by the rain outside. Then Daniel said something that would change both their lives: "You shouldn't go through this alone. I know we just met, but, if you ever need a place to rest or someone to talk to, my door's open." Emily didn't know why, but she believed him. At first, Emily didn't take Daniel's offer. Pride and fear held her back. But as the weeks passed, her situation worsened. Her landlord threatened eviction when she couldn't pay rent. Her wheelchair needed repairs she couldn't afford. She was skipping meals to save money for baby clothes. One particularly cold night, with only a thin blanket to keep her warm, Emily called Daniel. He arrived in less than 15 minutes, his old pickup truck rumbling outside. Without a word, he helped her pack her few belongings and took her to his small apartment. Daniel's home was modest, 2 bedrooms, a worn couch, and a tiny kitchen, but it was warm. Lily, his daughter, greeted Emily with shy curiosity. Within days, the 3 of them settled into a rhythm. Emily helped with homework and read bedtime stories to Lily. Daniel cooked dinners and made sure Emily never felt like a burden. But life wasn't suddenly easy. Daniel was already living paycheck to paycheck, and now there were more mouths to feed. He picked up extra shifts, cleaning offices late into the night. Emily felt guilty, wanting to contribute but limited by her mobility. She began sewing small handmade baby clothes, selling them online for a little income. Then came another challenge, Emily's health. Her pregnancy was high risk due to her paralysis. The doctors warned that complications could arise at any moment. Daniel insisted on taking her to every appointment, sometimes rushing from work just to make it on time. He even learned how to help with her physical therapy exercises. And then, as if life wanted to test them further, Emily's father returned to the picture. Word of her living situation had reached him, and he showed up one evening, offering money, but only if Emily agreed to give the baby up for adoption. Emily's hands shook as she refused him. For the first time, she didn't cry in front of her father. She looked him in the eyes and said, "I'd rather raise my child in a small apartment filled with love than in a mansion filled with coldness." Daniel stood beside her, his hand on her shoulder, a silent wall of support. Months later, on a quiet spring morning, Emily went into labor. Daniel rushed her to the hospital, staying by her side through every painful hour. When her baby boy was finally placed in her arms, Emily wept, not from sadness, but from a feeling she thought she'd never know again, peace. They named him Noah. Daniel held Noah like he was family, because by then, that's exactly what they were. He and Lily became an inseparable part of Emily's life. They celebrated small victories, Lily's good grades, Emily's first online shop sale, Daniel paying off a small debt. Emily's father never visited again, and she realized she didn't need him. The love she found in Daniel and Lily was the kind that money couldn't buy. One evening, as they all sat on the couch watching a movie, Lily leaned against Emily's shoulder and whispered, "I'm glad you're here." Emily smiled, her heart full. "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." Sometimes, family isn't the one you're born into, it's the one that chooses you when you have nothing left to give. Daniel didn't see Emily's wheelchair as a weakness. He saw her courage, her kindness, and her will to protect her child. And Emily saw in Daniel a man who understood loss, but also knew how to rebuild life with love. So if you take anything from their story, let it be this: kindness from a stranger can change the course of someone's life forever. You never know when you might be the person standing in the doorway, holding out a cup of tea, and offering hope. If this story touched you, please leave a comment below with your thoughts. We'd love to hear how it made you feel. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Loyal Hearts so we can continue bringing you more stories of love, kindness, and resilience.